Start recording. So employee data model, we have basically the HR data as well as the foundation tables. Within the foundation tables, you have organization tables, job tables, foundation tables, and payment foundation tables. And based on that, as a foundation, you're going to be using person data as well as the employee data, which is the actual HR data. And then basically there are 7 data models that we talked about last time. One is the corporate data model. Basically it defines your foundation objects. To explain it very easily, try to, I know that they're using a lot of new terms, new terminology, but they should be pretty similar to what we are used to in the past. If you have any computer science background, if you worked in programming, or if you have done any IS classes, a foundation object is nothing but a table, basically. Okay, I'll try to simplify that as much as possible. So let me draw a picture. Okay, so a foundation object is nothing but a table that we know from our past IT experience. A table has basically what? Rows and columns, right? And it has a structure, basically, which a definition that we call it. Definition of all the fields, basically. Okay, so foundation object is basically nothing but a table, and there are fields within the foundation objects. Basically those are fields itself. An example of a foundation object is basically location, right? So let me go back into the system and then actually show you. So before we don't get logged in here, go to employee files, go to, this is the main page, by the way, manage organization, pay and job structures. So here basically you go into location. Okay. And basically these are all the locations or data within that particular office, basically. And these are all the fields within that particular location. So treat this location as a foundation object, and this is the different locations within that location foundation object, and these are all the fields within the foundation objects. So when they say foundation object, foundation table, foundation structure, it's the same thing. Basically underlying it's a table, and it has fields and it has data inside that foundation object. And this foundation object is defined in your corporate data model. The corporate data model is basically, we're just going to look at it in a second here. I'm just going to open just give me 1 second. We're just going to open the file pad, open. Okay, so these are all the different data models, basically. So I'm going to open up the corporate data model. There are 2 versions. I think let's open a version 1 here. This must be a new one. So this one defines the overall organization data model used to implement the success factors in your company. As you can see here, there are 3 different types of foundation objects. One is organization foundation objects, one is a job foundation objects, one is a pay foundation objects. So these are used across the board. They're carried across through all the different modules, all the different systems, and they're visible across different, in the success factors. One of the thing happens to be the location, That's what we're looking at. Location is a foundation object. It is nothing but a table, and it has a data structure: location name, location ID, location zip code, location, whatever fields that you have that we looked at here. Those are all the structure for that location. And then when you're ready, imported the data model, you can also import the data within the data model. So to do that, you have to go into the go back to the admin panel, go back to the files, and you can say import foundation data. So basically you're importing the locations or the data into that foundation object. So if I have to break it down clearly, okay, I'm gonna insert text first. Define corporate data model. Within that, you're defining the foundation objects. Foundation object is nothing but a table in itself, and that has a structure. Okay. Okay. It has a structure, and basically it has nothing but the name of the different fields within the table. Right? An example of this foundation object is location. An example of a structure within that is location, name, etc. The one we just looked at. And once those things are defined, this is basically an XML data model, right? XML file. You import the XML file. Now you have the structure already defined, and now second is import the data into the table. So you can use the location data when you're creating the employee data, right? When you're creating employee data, you may want to say, hey, what is the location of this employee? And the drop down from that location, it could be Beijing, it could be New Delhi, it could be Chicago. That comes from the foundation object which is defined in the corporate data model. It's kind of in a nutshell of how the the corporate data model or the data models work like. And then we have 7 of those data models. One is the corporate data model. And also, once the foundation object is defined, you have to define the relationships between those tables. Okay, I'm gonna use those things here. This is one table, and this is a second table. Then you take the pencil and you define the relationships between those things. So this is location, and maybe this is geographical geolocation, something like that. And you can define one-to-one, one-to-many. Use the same concept that we used in the database concept. We have foreign keys, primary keys, one-to-n, one-to-many relationships. It's the same thing in the data model. You're basically trying to duplicate or create database structure. It's nothing but you're creating tables, you're creating primary keys, foreign keys, one-to-one, one-to-many, relationships, triggers. It's fundamentally the database concept just coming back in a different way, different name, different format. So if you use that logic, the entire EC you can learn in 1 hour, less than 1 hour. Okay, if you have that basic database concept. So this is the corporate data model, and then within the corporate data model you have a country specific data model. So you take the fields from this corporate data model and you specify that you find at the country level. For example, national ID, for example, zip code, which is different for different countries. Anything that is unique and specific, phone numbers, for example, we have 10-digit phone numbers here. In Europe, you can have 12-digit phone numbers. So anything here, you can modify to a country specific data model. And then what is a succession data model? Basically, this is the employee personal information, employee data, employee records, employee personal information. And you can also take the succession data model. Same thing, within that you have tables, you have structure. You can take that and you can specify, you can customize and tailor it to your country specific data model in the succession data model. Once you have done that, this is the 4 data models, and then you have 3 more. One is the propagation data model. Propagation is nothing but substitution. Substitution means you're pre-populating some data from the foundation objects. So if you use certain field, okay, system will know that you might need certain information. For example, the give is the job code. So if the job code is engineer, it's going to be automatically populating saying that this is a full-time position. Let's say if the job code is janitor, they're going to say that this is a contract staff. So you can pre-populate certain information based on certain data. So you can create propagation rules within the system, so you can default certain values based on other data. You can also do rules and events. Basically, these specify when the data changes should trigger a specific workflow. Employee hiring, employee firing, employee has joined again, employee got promotion, things like that. So it will trigger some workflow rules based on certain actions, such as promotions, pay raise, incrementals, it kind of for approvals for review purposes. And you can also create event rules. Event rules are basically when I save this thing, what should happen? When I exit certain screen, what should happen? So you can create some event rules or event codes based on certain job actions or certain certain events that are happening within the system, and you can create derivation rules based on those events. Basically, all these things are basically to help you minimize the data entry, protect the data integrity, and also help you create and manage the data, basically. So it all comes down to these 3 slides. Make sure you're very thorough in these 3 slides, crystal clear. There is HR data, there is person data, there is employment data. Basically, the foundation to those things is the foundation tables. Foundation tables can be broken down into organization tables, job tables, and payment tables that we looked at right here. Let's look at some examples. Organization, legal entity, which is a company code, right? So legal entity is a company code. So a company, for example, like ExxonMobil can have 180 different legal entities. Microsoft can have 250 legal entities. Within that, you can have business units. Business units, nothing but Microsoft, software unit, Microsoft sales organization, Microsoft Office, product, Microsoft Cloud solutions, Microsoft, search engine solutions, things like that. You can have business units. You can have location group, which is basically North America, South America, things like that. You can also have geographical locations, US North, US South, US Central, India North, China North. You can have locations. Basically, locations are physical locations. You can have divisions within those things, departments, HR department, IT department, sales, and cost centers. Who's going to be taking any burden if there are any expenses in the within the organization. So make sure we're very familiar with this data. We have to create this data. Let's go look at some of the data models. Look at some of the data or data models. I'm going to go back here, go back into organization. Okay, create new what? Create new, let's say cost center. Okay, create new. Okay, right here. I'm creating a new pay code, not organization. I'm creating wrong one. Okay, let's go look at cost center. Doesn't matter what we're creating. So drop down. These are all foundation objects. You can create a new data object for those foundation objects. You can do that, or you can also import. You have both options. So give me some examples, Mahesh. Give me some examples for what do you want me to create? Let me create location, right? Let's create a location.
Yeah, location you can create. You can create job classification.
Yeah, let's create location.
Well.
So give me a location code. I don't know.
US A1 something or CS A1 something.
Okay, CSA1. Okay, or US 01. Doesn't matter. Okay. This is Sugarland location, right? So I'm Verity Solutions. I have a Sugarland location. This is pretty active location. The location group is, let me look here. Location group is North America, Central, West. I don't know, North America. I'm not Central, I'm not West, I'm not East.
USA group.
I don't know, I'm going to select USA group. It's not right. I mean, it should be South, something like that. I'm in a time zone called Central. So Central right here. Okay. So what you can do, propagation is a good example right here. So as soon as you select, let's say South, South could be different zones. You can say it's South Central, or Central zone. And as soon as you select the group, the time zone should default. That's called one of the examples of propagation. Standard weekly hours, I don't know, 8. And geographical location, geographical zone is Latin America. I'm Central region. And obviously I'm in the USA, United States. And everything is optional here. Zip code is, I know, 77479. My state here is Texas. Let's fill it in as much as possible. Okay, county, I don't care. City is Sugarland. I'm in 104 Trail Boulevard, Sugarland, Texas. See, there is a problem here with the data model here. So I either use state or I use province. If in Canada I use province, in the US I use state. So there is a problem right here with the underlying data model. So that is what you need to do as a consultant, is optimize these fields such a way that this thing like this doesn't happen. In the US we never use address line 2, maybe use it, but we never use address line 3 in the US. In India you may have 4 different address lines. So you need to optimize the fields within the data model to make sure that it is correctly defined for your country. So all the fields are effective dated. We talked about this concept, right? So in the location, as I say, effective means this particular data piece is effective from this date. So every field within EC is effective dated, and I'm right now creating data for a foundation object called location, which is already defined in my data model, and I'm going to be saving it. Your option is to create like this, or your option is to import it using a CSV file. So you have both options. So once this is done, I should be able to see my location right here. I should be able to do a drop down and search my Sugarland location, hopefully right here, USO1. Okay, so now if I'm creating an employee in Sugarland for Verity Solutions, that location is available for me to use within the system. So that is the logic behind creating these foundation objects. So for example, if I'm looking at pay grade, okay, so I'm searching to the pay grade. Pay grade is hourly pay grade, exemption pay grade, salary pay grade, pay grade 1, pay grade 2, pay grade 3, band 90, band whatever grades you might have. Those are the examples of the data within that. Pay ranges, another example, it could be software engineer, hardware engineer, different pay ranges, hourly, non-exempt, exempt, locations. We looked at that, geographic locations, workflow, legal entity, basically company codes, right? These are company codes. So for Verity Solution, there should be only one company code. For Microsoft, you could have 250 company codes. So, Microsoft Germany, Microsoft China, Microsoft India, Microsoft Mexico, Singapore. So you create all the legal entities, right here. Okay. And divisions, basically, IT, HR, all the divisions within your system. So when we do the project, right, I'm going to define a project for you. I'm going to define a clear entity for you. Okay. So within the project, I'm going to define hierarchy, organization structure. Organization structure. How many legal entities, how many countries, how many currencies, how many departments, how many divisions. I'm going to define all this for you. So we're going to define the project, we're going to define the organization structure, we're going to define goals and objectives for the project. And scope. So basically I need everything. I need goals, I need compensation, I need performance, I need EC, I need payroll. Let's do full-blown implementation. I need LMS, I need recruiting, so I need everything. So you need to set up the organization structure, you need to set up the data model, you need to set up import the data model, you need to set up all the locations, and then you need to start creating the employee data, and then do employee transfers, and then do his goals. So you have to set up the entire sequence of events, entire sequence of structure in our project, basically. So we'll define a project, we'll define goals and objectives, and we'll define the organization structure for you. Okay, basically, legal entities, currencies, cost centers, etc. for you. Scope, I need all modules. Okay. My goals is basically I'm implementing an HR system, right? I need all modules or this XYZ company is implementing all modules in SF. Basically, I need everything. Okay. I will define a project for you, will define an organization project for you, and then you download the latest data model from partnered website. So you have to do that step. Okay, so I want you to get used to every single thing, not just use the data model that I gave you. So download the partner website, create or download and install XML pad, modify, actually design the data model first. Design the data model, modify the data model, import the data model, review foundation objects, right? Import data into foundation objects, right? So you would have no data within the, you might as well, you can also delete and re-import the data into your foundation objects. import the foundation data, and then start, obviously in the design the data model for all the 7 data models, right? 7 data models, and then modify all 7 data models. And obviously I would expect that you, in the design, you create some custom fields, import it, review the foundation object, import that in the foundation objects, and then start creating um, employees. Creating employees, and then do other things, right? Goals, performance, compensation, whatever, payroll, whatever. So you will do all those things. So kind of the sequence of steps that we have to follow, and basically you need to understand pick lists, all those things, review foundation objects, your pick lists, foundation objects,
RBP,
uh,
role-based permissions. Role-based permissions.
permissions,
Event reasons.
security, event codes,
workflows.
reasons, workflow, etc. So whatever, we'll look at all those things. You have to look at all these things and then complete the project. And this is what they're going to be asking you in the certification exam. Without certification, is success factors of no use, really. That adds a lot of value. It's kind of guarantees you a job almost. Your chances of getting a job gets to 100% if you pass certification exam.
Just to quickly add, in a fresh implementation, you'll be downloading the data models from the partner portal.
Yep.
And then uploading it without doing any changes. And you do it only once. And then SuccessFactors releases patches or changes to some fields or some things on an ongoing basis every quarter. So you need to study the release notes, and whatever is applicable, you need to find those tags, download the data model which you have already uploaded in the past, make the corrections carefully, and then upload it back to the provisioning system. So this is the process for ongoing basis doing the changes to the data model.
Yeah, before right here, define, download the right before design the data model. Okay, right here model. So before you import the data model, you have to log into. We looked at that. Log into your provisioning system and make changes. Okay. I'm going to actually have the consultant who actually gave me this access come online, and when we're actually ready to do this import, he will actually do the import for us. So I asked him, and he said he would be willing to do that. So when we're ready to do the project, he'll be online with his provisioning access, and then he will actually import our data models into the system, so we can experiment, the steps. What else? Okay, so we looked at the basic. Any questions? I mean, it's pretty. I think I'll try to simplify as much as possible. Foundation objects and different types of this. Let's look at the other foundation objects. We look at the organization ones, the job ones, right? Basically, job classification, job codes, job classification, global, and job function. Let's look at these. Let's go back here. Let's go look at job. Let's go back here.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
As Mahesh is saying, we have to import the data models. We don't do any customizations. I mean, once we import the data models, say, for example,
you can
showing me the right
within the data model. Yeah, within the data model, there are a lot of options for customization. They left a lot of custom fields within the data model.
So we can do that, right? The example province, we can take it off like we don't need a
Yes.
province for us, so we can make it
Yeah.
visible.
Right here, so you can see custom string 1.
Okay.
They left a lot of
To 15
custom
fields.
ones. You can name it whatever you
Yeah.
want, these things.
So basically, we can do customizations once we import it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Up to 15 fields you can do.
Got it.
If you require more than 15, then you may have to reach out to the SuccessFactors and request for more.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we used to do this. I mean, when we designed these IT systems long time back, we used to create table structure or table. It's like a create table command. Remember those create table definitions?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. XML is nothing but a table definition.
Yeah, got that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we used to do create table, field 1 integer, field 2 this, field 2 this, and we used to import that and then import data. Now they just change it into an XML format. Instead of SQL, this is an XML format.
Got it.
Exactly. I mean, when I'm reading, look at this thing, we used to have triggers, we used to have rules, we used to have stored procedures, everything. They just same concepts they put in XML format. Now, because we don't have access to the database.
And that too, this is web-based, so this is XML easily correlate with that.
Exactly. So there is no formal database, and they don't want to give you the database access, so they just change the interface to an XML format. So you can create all those things.
They have done this to remove the coding part.
Exactly.
They don't want
Part,
customers
part, yep.
to get into that coding part. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of customization available for you many ways. Here. Okay, so let's go through the steps here. I wish all these things were in one screen here. Okay, it is in one screen. So yeah, first step is log into the provisioning system. Now I'll actually show you this guide is pretty good actually. I kind of skipped through it. So basically, these are all the switches in the Employee Central. You turn on the Employee Central Foundation objects, enable translation of Employee Central Foundation objects, Employee Central effective dated platform. Obviously, you want to check that effective date platform. You want to check the Employee Central version V2. You want to enable the calculation rules engine. You want to set the role-based permissions and go back into the we want to use the version 12 UI framework. Set up the enable compensation administration functions for generic objects, and even for the reporting pieces, turn on the ad hoc reporting builder, standard reporting. So whatever your company wants, just check and check here. I mean, this is a lot different than the Pro configuration that we're used to. It's very simpler, and not much to it. And then they actually tell you, what to even check. In here case, we have obviously I want to use rating scales. Turn the rating scales on. Turn on the 360 feedback if you want to use it. If you want to use it performance management, turn that on. If you want to use calibration, turn that on. So turn as much as possible. Okay, I think we already looked at the role-based permissions. You know what it is. And then basically you can customize the employee permission portlets. In the employee data, you have HR data, you have employee details, you have global assignments, you have pension payout details, you have HR actions, you have pay components and edit information. Okay. This talks about employee details, global assignments, take action, settings. Yeah, whenever you create an employee data, actually, everything is as we talked about effective dated. You can click on it and actually you can make corrections. We'll look at that in a second. Actually create an employee data using the foundation objects that we actually created. Assigning the employee data, compensation ratio, employee central, views. Let's go back to the data model. Okay, we talked enough about the corporate data model. Everybody should be very familiar with it now. We talked about the foundation data objects. You should be very familiar with it now. Broken down into org structures, job structures, and pay structures. And the actual data model is, right here, very clearly defined. Company code, legal entity, business unit, geographical location. Pretty common. If you're used to an IT person, they're pretty intuitive, basic stuff that you really need. You also need, frequency of, how you want to pay, workflow steps. Okay. And then next come is the associations. I talked about what is an association, right? Association is nothing but relationships between tables. Between tables, you have one-to-one, you have one-to-many tables. So from a location to an entity, it's one-to-many. So one legal entity can have many locations, right? So one business unit can have many divisions. One geozone can have one pay range, for example. So this is the relationships that you build. Associations are relationships that you build between these foundation objects, and you define using the multiplicity within the XML function. I'll show you how to set that up really quick. Right here, the defining association called many-to-many associations. The HRIS element is company. HRIS is, you define a tag called associations. You define the association ID, and the multiplicity, which is the relationship, is one-to-many. The destination is location, okay, and you close the tag basically. So there is a one-to-many between the company and the location field. This is how you define the one-to-many tag. You can define these are the keywords: one-to-many, many-to-one, and one-to-one. Those are all the keywords within the system. And you can define another one, here, location, destination ID is company, and it's called one-to-many. So let's see if there is an associations already defined in the data model here. Hopefully there are. Associations, begin associations right here. Okay, associations, HRIS associations, multiplicity, one-to-one. The destination code is GeoCity. Okay, GeoZone again, and then they closed the associations. So this is how you create the the association structures. So basically relationships between the entities, right? So is anywhere defined here? It's not defined here. Okay. Maybe I should capture somewhere here. Okay. Again, I'll put this up. So just a basic, I'll just do a simple PowerPoint presentation with the basic concepts for you. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do foundation objects also. So right here, we looked at the data models, we looked at the foundation objects, and we looked at the associations, okay? So next step is the propagations. Okay, foundation objects. Anything to add, Mahesh? Anything to add on these things, foundation objects? Please feel free, anything, just chime in, anything you want.
Yeah, actually, role-based permissions we need to add.
Okay, about this thing, okay, foundation objects, copy model. And I'm going to do propagations, okay, now. Foundation objects. Looked at associations, and propagation. Okay, let me get to propagation, then we'll get to the succession data model in a second.
Propagation is like dynamic actions in SAP. So after you enter one information, system automatically pops up the relevant information. So we can relate to dynamic actions in SAP HR.
Did everybody understand propagation? Any questions? Basically, very simple. You define propagation rules to have system automatically fill in fields. Very simple. Just remember that one sentence. Automatically fill in the fields. Okay, this basically rules that let you improve the efficiency of the overall system. Okay, so the propagation rules, I'll put examples as well. How do you create a foundation object? How do you create associations? How do you create propagation rules? And now we're going to get into the corporate data model. Let's look at corporate data model. Okay, what that is. Go ahead, Mahesh. What is the corporate data model?
Yeah, corporate data model is the structure for capturing the organization relevant information. So it basically gives the structure and gets all the relevant fields which are important to capture the company relevant details. And it could be like of different arguments or like various things related to the company. So you basically create a structure, and then with that structure, you'll be able to capture the information later.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the corporate data model. Go back here. Go to the very first step. And I will put this document. I know someone said you could not find it, but I will. It's in there. I'll double check and I'll put this document up there also.
It is step three. Step three.
It is in step 3. Permission is role-based.
On top. On top.
It's a corporate.
Yeah, yeah.
Still corporate data. I'm looking country-specific data model. Foundation objects. Still corporate. Corporate. Looked at associations. Corporate data model. Associations. Next step is to actually create the data model. We looked at corporate data model. Define associations. Okay, succession data model. Maybe we'll do succession data model. We'll come back to country-specific data models. Okay, that right here. Okay. What is a country-specific data model? You're specifying basically phone numbers, social security numbers, addresses, labor standards, visas, anything country-specific information. You put it in the country-specific data model. This applies both for corporate data model. This applies also for the succession data model. Succession data model is basically employee information. Corporate data model is corporate information. So the country-specific data model applies for both corporate as well as the succession data model. I don't like the name succession data model. They should have called it employee data model or something. I don't know. Kind of the name itself doesn't impress me. So I'm just gonna cut the country-specific data model, and I'm just gonna put all the concepts for you so you don't have to navigate all the pages, go back and forth. Okay, right, it should be pretty intuitive, pretty clear so far. Okay, phone numbers, things like that. Okay, and then we're going to look at the succession data model. Succession data model is basically, let's go open that, the actual data model. Okay, give me a second. So let me close this corporate data model for a second here and open the succession data model. Okay. Succession, why is there 2 versions here? Okay. So I have the succession data model open. You can see in the XML notepad succession data model. Within the succession data model, so you have things like steps, portlet sections. Yeah. So they have directly, actually, they have got directly country specific fields. So this is how you define the country specific data model. So here you specify the country equal to US, the group ID equal to national ID, and here so you're gonna in the US, the national ID is going to be called social security number. So that's how you define the country specific data model. I'm going to cut this and then actually put this in our format. In our screen you can see it.
Succession data model, this is where you set up the data structure of data that relates to people working in a company, like compensation or address, and like country specific succession data model would be example of address or national ID, visas, and it could set up data models for company which is operating in more than one country. Like if your employee is like if you have a company set up in different countries, you may have to capture different company specific country specific details. Then you may have to have the country specific succession data model enabled or created or imported?
Yeah. So within the succession data model, you have person data, and then you have employment data. Person data is very specific to the employee, right? Such as his address, social security number, date of birth, which is things like which is very specific to the person, and also has employment history. What is his job code? What is his hire date? What is his compensation? So anything related to his employment would be in the employment data. So there are two sections: person data, employment data. Person data has his basic, social security number, address, name, etc. And I'll cut this and I'll put this into the sheet. Okay, and then we can also see that in our presentation here, right? So this should tell everything. This is the succession data model: person data, employment data, and this is your corporate data model. And you can customize this to country specific data model. You can also customize this to country specific data model. You can actually see this here, blue. He took that and then he put it into two different sections. He took the orange and he put it into two different sections. And even for everything, you have the within the for all the different data models, you have the propagation data model. So very logically built. If you understand this particular slide, you understood EC concepts very well. This is a very well done slide. This one slide here. So I'll actually move this up here a little bit, okay? So that's really the first slide, that'll be the second slide, that'll be the third slide. I'm gonna try to explain, the one to many, many to many concepts here, okay? One to one, one to many, relationships, associations. We use
many to one as well. Many to one.
Yeah. Associations. You can also have many to one. Okay, and then we got to the country specific data model. Control C, go back here, paste, and then we have country specific data. That's it. Now I'll try to improve on this this presentation, this slide, put some examples for each of the data models, put some screenshots for each of the data models, and go from there. So far, any questions? I'm just going to unmute everybody. Let you guys ask some questions. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so looks like we doing pretty good.
Hari, this is Sanaga.
Yes.
I had a question about the pick list.
Yeah, pick list is basically drop downs.
Will it be part of the data model, or is it done in the web page of the entire Employee Central?
The field, whatever you're uploading, the field should be in the data model. But the uploading part, the putting in the data is done in a different place. But if that is not in the data model, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, you import provisioning system once at the when you are implementing, you'll finalize all the pick lists for all the fields, and you prepare a CSV file and then upload it in the provisioning system. And then after a few minutes or up to an hour, it will take, and then it will reflect in the instance.
Okay.
And if you want to make any changes to the pick list, you need to download that and again make a change and upload it back. Otherwise, you can do it through XML as well.
Okay.
Let's go back to the admin tools, employee files. I can go to company settings. Pick list management. So basically, this is one of the examples. Is perfect example is currency. Currency should have been in your data model initially when you were uploading it, but the data into that has to be imported using pick list. Currency, it's euro, USD, Canadian dollars, Indian rupee, and all those things. So you find the pick list ID, and then you go into the pick list import and export session. You can export it out into a CSV file. You can also import it into CSV file. So we're going to be doing all these practicals. I mean, we just don't have data. We're just not ready. But what we're going to do in the next few classes is we're going to be doing all these things for you guys. We're going to be showing you importing foundation data, importing pick list data. Maybe we'll ask you to help you guys with those things. So we have to set up. The problem is we have to set up the CSV file, set up XLS file, set up find the right table, right data. So it just takes a lot of time to do this. So maybe we might need some help from you guys in the next class. So let's pick each one and then try to do the actual show that in the system. Okay, role-based permissions. Okay? Security, for example, we already seen that already. Importing employee data, we already seen that, but let's look at it again. So importing foundation data, importing pick list data, exporting pick list data, both. Okay. Importing employee data. So let's do all these practicals in the next class. Obviously, we can see it. It's pretty easy. It's not a difficult thing at all. All you need is a file, basically. So you can just, the easiest way is export it, make changes, import it, export it, import it. And it's very, very easy and very intuitive. But we will try all these things in the next few classes. Is actually going into the system and actually, we're spending more time in concepts now, looking at things, but we will do all these. Anywhere there is an import and export, we'll try to get that done.
Hari, I think role-based permissions is an important concept. I have a presentation. Can I go through that?
Absolutely, yeah. So we can do pick list management, compensation management, not compensation management, any data that needs to be imported, so we can start using the system in its full. We will do that in the next few classes. Yeah, go ahead. If you have any presentations, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you make me a presenter? I can present. So, are you guys able to see my system, my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Mahesh.
Yeah. So we'll be covering introduction to role-based permissions in this presentation. So the goal of this module is to provide you information with the concepts behind the role-based permissions, and then like what we need to do in the provisioning system, and what are the different things we do with regards to setting up the role-based permissions. So this is about the role-based permissions, and then what are role-based permissions, what are role-based security concepts, and other related things. So coming to role-based permissions allow you to create as many roles as you want as per your company requirement, and at the same time you can maintain permission granularity, in the sense to the detail you can provide the like permissions or security. So that is the specialized thing about the role-based permissions here. And you can choose and control like what permissions you want to give, and also you can limit to that particular employee or employee group you want the access to be given to that manager. You can control to that extent, and you can like if a person is joining some say sales team or a finance team, and he happens to move to some other team, the permissions are very dynamic, and once he moves out, automatically it is taken out, and whatever group he joins next, the relevant permissions is granted, and the previous one is removed. So it does that dynamically within the role-based permissions. Actually, you can do that through this. And coming to the role-based security concepts, in between you see the green box, that is the role, and on the either side you see the user group in the yellow. They like you can control what data and functionality you'll be giving to the users, and it's generally a role is generally given to a group of users. Like on the left hand side you can see that there is a granted user circle, so you can give the access to the role to the granted users and specify for which target group you're going to give that role permission, and it can like assign permissions dynamically, and administrator can like define as many roles as required. And for an example, like you have US HRs and you have Germany HRs. So US HRs can view like all the US employees, whereas German HRs can view only the German-based employees. So like they can view performance rating information, or like potential rating information, or they can create the performance review forms. And then you can also define to what level or to what extent they will be able to view the information through the role. So the manager role in US can view all the level information, whereas the manager role in Germany can view only 2 levels of information. So to that extent you can control. And elements which are not in scope are like permissions managed through admin tools, employee profile permissions, and also performance management form template permissions, goal plan template permissions, and compensation template permissions, and recruitment template permissions. These are not in scope. And then how do you set up? Like first is enabling the role-based permissions. You have to enable that in the provisioning system before you can get the access in the instance. So like you generally like enable that in the provisioning system, and it will reflect after a few minutes or up to an hour in your instance. You need to log out of your SuccessFactors provisioning system and then log back to your instance. There you can see the manage role-based permissions pop up under the set user permissions in the administrative tool. And like this is you need to relate this concept, like you create the admin users first or the super user first in the provisioning system, and the supervisor is the first person who's going to log into the instance, and he's going to come here first and set up his own manage role based permissions. With this, he'll be able to do the administration and also set up security for other users as well. So after you enable, you grant the administrator himself will grant the permissions to himself. So he will do that through set user permissions and manage role-based permission access. And then he will click on add user, and then you will click on grant permissions. And then it gives him permissions to create group, create role, and also to grant the role or link the role to the groups. So how do you set up the permission groups? So first you need to navigate to set user permission, manage permission groups, and you can like give the permission to the group based on the role-based security framework. You can edit, copy, and delete these groups as well. So coming to the admin tools, manage permission group, you click on create new, and then you also can do a group definition. Like you can choose any particular groups and give the authorization as well. So in this example, you're creating a group for employees in US, and for the people pool, you pick a category like country. You can even exclude a group of people if you want from this group. And like you are choosing the country again. There are many conditions you want. You can choose, and you can give the like create the group. And then country is selected as US, and you can see that group membership is about 381. And once you're done, you click on done, and then you can get to that group, and by going to admin tools, manage permission group, that will be showing under the group name employees in US, and you can do all these actions like edit, copy, delete, view summary, and also view change history. And you can choose any particular department you want to give authorization to, or you can create a separate group, say HR in United States. And you can add another category as well if you want. And like country, like there is another category which is added is country, and it has 4 members, and you can exclude people as well from this group. And once done, the groups are created. Now create the permission roles. So the groups creation is done. Now you create the role. So, and then you grant the role as well. So in the admin tools, you navigate to set user permission, manage permission roles, and then you click on create new. You can also edit, copy, delete these groups and create new groups as well. And you click on create new role, and like you can like you get different options like goals, career development planning, employee data, grant user permissions. So whatever you want, you can like click on that, and there will be permission settings which will pop up, and then you can select whatever is relevant and then click on done. And you can go into detail as well, like and in the permission role detail, you will get to know what all you've enabled, and then you can click on save changes, and then you are granting roles to groups. So here you completed creation of groups, creation of roles. Now you're granting the role to the users, to the specific population. So now you grant roles to the user. So the steps are like first you define whom you want to give the permission to, that is the granted users. and for which target you're queuing, like that is the target users. So you select managers and you select the population or the group which you want to give the access to that, to the role. And then you see that there is that granted users are given specific population roles to access. Like example is um, US manager can see like all the data, like dashboard information for the US only. So that's an example, and then you can click on save changes. That's about it.
Done?
So any questions?
Okay, let's go back into the data models again. So we clearly understood corporate data model, country-specific corporate data model, succession data model, and country-specific data model, right? I want you to next assignment is write about each of these data models, and you have to put them on the website. Okay, I'm going to create a right now in front of your eyes. I'm just going to go create where is it at? This thing here. I'm going to create succession factors assignment for EC. Or maybe I'll do this. All 7 data models with examples. I need very clear XML examples, and you have to construct XMLs with your own, use Notepad or something like that. Okay, so I want you to get used to XML, and don't cut and paste the XML. I want you to kind of, get to know the XML. So the way you find that is go to the blogs, and you see SuccessFactors EC assignment. Click on continue to read, and then here you'll see the discuss. You log in, and then you can use any social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever IDs you can have. You can log in, and you can post your assignment right here, so others can see it here. So you can log in with any of these icons. So let's go back to our, we looked at succession data model, we looked at associations. Let's go back to the beginning of the sheet. Sorry, I have to go back and forth. That's how this book is structured. So I have to go back. Importing pick lists, right? So let's look at that too. Since you brought up pick list, determine the information that you need in any drop-down list. We looked at currencies, address types, job relationships, events, anything that you have in a drop-down, you can import it. You create association between a data model and a pick list, and then you just import the pick list. Nothing but a simple table. You're just importing the data into a table. So nothing much to it. Again, this is a partner site link. I will show you the partner site link next class. So there's a lot of information in there, wealth of information in the partner website. It has clear videos, instructional manuals, data models, pick lists. So excellent information. I'll show you that in the next class. But here you go, company list, pick list management, and you import the pick list. Basically, it's a CSV file. CSV is a comma delimited file. Data, and just import it. It's nothing much to it. Okay. Basically, like this is how the pick list sheet is going to look like, and then just import it. We'll look at these examples in more details in the next class. We'll do all the examples for you. We'll do dry runs for each of the different modules. So after pick list management, what's next? Pick list management, foundation objects, propagation rules. Did we look at the propagation rules? Let's look at the propagation rules. I think we did talk about it. Associations. Let's look at propagation rules. Okay. Propagation rules are nothing but it defaults, as I talked about. If you put in a location code, for example, Sugarland, it should default the CST, because we are in Central Time Zone. Basically, based on certain parameters, you default certain data within your data model. So that's called the propagation rules. So you define the propagation rules to fully automatically fill in some fields and information data such as job information, job classification, CST, time zones, currency for that country. If it is US, currency is USD. Very simple, right? I'll put that over here. You can see it. Yeah, from next class, I'm expecting demos from you guys. As we talked about, both in terms of assignments and in terms of contribution, both. Okay. Next class, prepare for 15-minute presentation on topics. You can show us anything: importing an employee, importing a pick list, importing a foundation object, setting security, logging into the admin panel. Anything that you feel like you want to contribute, you can do that next class, 15 minutes each other. If you don't get into the system, your certification is hands-on, and you would struggle basically. So without certification, your chance of getting a job is maybe 10%. With certification, it jumps to 100%. When you're almost guaranteed to get a job with certification. So I would strongly recommend doing hands-on from this week. End of the presentations, end of the lectures, right? It's time to get hands-on. So we looked at the propagation rules. So again, go back here to the top. We looked at foundation objects. We looked at pick lists, conditions, section models. Let's look at event reason derivation rules. What are the event reason derivation rules? Basically, changes, job classification changes, salary changes, personal life changes, employment status changes, okay, assignment changes, demotions, furloughs, hires, any of these events, okay, based on these events, you can create some derivation rules. You can create some actions based on these events, basically. Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to action reasons in SAP, and you create event reasons for the events. There are about 24 events, and then you can create custom event reasons if you want to, or use the defined ones already there.
And event reasons are mandatory for you guys.
Yeah.
And even if a company decides not to create an event reason, the admin has to have a an event reason in place in such reasons. So it's a good correlation that what you described. event reasons. So whenever there is an event happen, you got to have a reason for that particular event. And you do that. So go back here. So let's cut and paste so you guys have it handy. Yeah, you can have it handy. I'll upload this presentation, send it to you guys. We looked at propagation rules, event derivation rules, succession derivation rules, and then what else? We're missing one more thing. Keep working. I think we'll be done with the concepts.
It's workflow derivation rules.
Yeah. What is that? Keep talking. What is workflow derivation rules? Keep talking.
Yeah, like if you have to have an approval process in your company, you need to define the workflow, how it will be triggered, and like should it go to one level up, or should it go to just the one manager from the employee? You just you define all those things. The same thing as route map. Here also you define the steps 1, 2, 3, and then you bring in the roles. You say what action needs to be taken, and like should it like you have CC role, you have edit role, you have like view role. So you can define those things. You can like say who are the approvers, who are the who are the approver types and all that. So and then you can set up the whole thing based on the org structure or the reporting structure you have set up in your company. So
basically, yeah, you're setting up the approval process.
Yeah, approval process or mechanism in your company. Yes.
So here you're defining the trigger for approval workflow. So what is the mechanisms? What is that triggers the workflow that requires an approval? Anything like, for example, my personal changes. There was a birth, you got married, somebody needs to look at it, somebody needs to review it. You want to change your last name, somebody needs to look at it. So anything, any type of event that you need to
Yeah, it's a simple example is somebody separating, and like it has to go through his manager, HR, and also should be notified to the IT department and like the security department to deactivate the user from the system. So you have to set up all those items and the roles through which the workflow has to be triggered and put to completion. So if somebody is separating, automatically everybody in the chain needs to be informed. So that's how, and like that, same for like hiring, like that for transfer, like that for any events for that matter. You can set up workflows for any events if you want, and for any approvals like LOA or like any changes in the job or work or position or org unit, anything for that matter, you can set up a workflow.
Yep. And you define it as a role. It easily means an employee, like employee's manager approves it. If it is a dynamic role, system automatically determines who the right approver is. If it's a dynamic group, same thing. There could be several approvers, and system automatically sends it to that particular group, depending on that particular event. And these things are all I mean, it is pretty common these days. I've seen that in many other modules, many other types, any of the cloud-based systems, everything is going to XML route. You define the workflow basically in XML using XML tags. So you already should have standard XML file for the corporate data model. Within that, you define the tags. The ID tag is workflow config. And then you end the tag with that. And you can also set up the workflow config step. It's a second tag, and the workflow step approver. So using these three tags, you can set up who the approver is and what are the steps that are required to do the actual approval. Let's look at that here, dynamic role. In this example, he's setting up the HRIS element is dynamic role, means he's letting the system determine the role. HRIS ID is the dynamic role assignment. The field is, reason event. And then basically the change here is the pay grade. So somebody has changed the pay grade, and it's going to find the person dynamically, and then it's going to find the manager or whoever is going to be approving for that particular event, basically. So let's look at some examples. You can also set up dynamic groups within that. You can also go to employee files and you can manage workflow groups. You can create different groups who can approve or who can be in that particular group. You can also go to employee files manage, and you can also create these dynamic roles within the system, within the structure. Okay. We can also have workflow based on events. We already talked about it. Events could be on leave, or events could be termination, events could be separation, events could be anything. So you can also create workflow based on the events. And everything, good or bad, it's all based on XML, and we need to get comfortable with those things. Let's look at these examples in the real data models. Give me a second, let me pull that up. Okay, I pulled up the workflow data model. Have many different tabs now: corporate data model, succession data model, workflow rules, data model. In this one, they have defined a rule called rule ID equal to rule 61, which is an address change. Basically, the the true output is address change. The conditions for this change is or, means if any of these fields change, then it triggers this workflow. You change the country home, you change the address 1, you change the address 2, you change the city zip code. These are all the conditions for this rule to be triggered. And once this rule is triggered, you basically find out, or you basically put in who needs to approve it, or where it needs to go within the system. And you can define multiple rules within the system. Let's, in this rule, for example, there is a promotion pay, okay, and there are demotions, and there are transfers, for example, departmental transfers. So if this particular ID or the field has changed, it automatically triggers a rule and finds the right role or the group person to trigger that particular event. So this is the way for you to customize or make impact on the entire succession data model. Just give me one more second. Let me bring up all the data models so we can see it. So everything now, I have the corporate data model. We looked at the three major classifications: organization, job, and pay. Within the organization, we know legal entity, location, zone, division, department. Jobs, job classification, title. Let's go search. Let's go search the job function, see how it is defined here. Job function. It's not going forward, okay. Job. F3. So this is the job code, for example, HRS element job code. The label is job classification. And this is the languages. In all different languages, he's explaining the same thing in many different languages. Okay, and he's explaining the fields here. Within that, you have the job code. That's one of the fields. And you also have, is it a full-time or part-time employment? And he's acting supervisory level. These are all the fields within the data model. The pay grade, for example. So these are all the different elements within the corporate data model for the pay, for the job, or for the organization elements. So here, each one is like a table. Within that, you have structures, which are fields. And once you create those things, you can customize the fields. And that also links to the portlet, where you're actually displaying the information within the employee information. Then you import the data within those models. Let's look at the succession data model. Here, this is the succession data model, as we talked about, has two different classifications. One is the person, and the employment. And within the person here, you can see is defining the employee national ID, which in the US we would call it social security number. In India, you could call it a PIN or PIN number. And you can display the format. You can display the reg expression for those things, and you can display the the home address, for example, for this particular person, and how do you define this. This is where you need to customize for different countries if that particular element is very specific to that particular country. And then we have the workflow rules. We just talked about it. Rule number 61, rule number 42, promotions, demotions, address changes, position transfers, position reclassification, promotion codes, pay, raises. So a lot of different rules that have been set up, and the field that is impacted, that triggers this particular workflow, is defined in the workflow rules. Propagation rules, we talked about defaults, how things will be propagated. For example, this is the propagation rule is pay component. This is element ID. And for example, if he's in the US, and if he's his salary, depending on the country, he can drop down or populate the currency code for that particular employee, where is he going to get paid. And also the frequency. Let's say if all the employees are getting paid in a frequency as bi-weekly, you can put, you can default bi-weekly based on certain job code. So all the permanent employees would be monthly, all the supplemental employees will be bi-weekly. So you can have those classifications in those system using the job codes. So based on the job codes also, you can default certain information. So this is the propagation is basically defaults, and these are the event reason codes, basically position transfers, demotion, pay raises, and this is how you construct the XML. Basically, you set up the rules. This particular rule would be impacted based on the pay grade, position, and as well as the cost and the condition that triggers this particular rule. It is going to be the event reason rules. So get familiar with the XML. All the different XML files already imported them, and right now these are all already imported for you into the system. And if you want to make changes, we can have the person with the provisioning ID available to us, so we can make the changes and see the impact of these changes. And we're going to start getting into individual things such as importing the foundation data, importing the pick list, importing the employee data. We're going to look at that in more detail examples. Let's go log into the system now, see if we covered everything. Employee. We looked at, this is where we do most of the organization pay and job structures management. This is where we import the foundation data. This is where we import the translations, the language translations. And this is where we're going to customize the employee central. Let's look at those things. Okay. You can click on the edit pick list values for regular temporary employees. And here you can customize, you can add a pick list item. This is you're manually adding a pick list item here. This is basically a regular or temporary employee. This is a person information. You have an option to import it using a CSV file. You can manually come back here, delete or add a pick list here. Basically regular temporary, what else? I don't know, part-time. I don't know, you know, something like that. So employee class, assigned, expatriate, agency, internship, apprentice. Let's say, I don't know, it's a co-op. Deleted here. Add. Co-op training. Okay. So you can also come back here and customize directly without importing using the pick list option. Okay, I'm going to be done. So this is where I got into. This is the old way of doing things. Somehow system is throwing me into this particular admin tool, but this is very nice actually. I really like this interface. Everything in one central place, right? It's very, very, very nice. Actually, I love this thing here. Where were we? Managing goals. Managing development, apply calibration, integration, dashboards. Employee files. This is where we were. Configure employee files.
Hari, this is Anaga.
Yes, Anaga.
So in order to add a list of options to that particular ID, do they need to have some information in a data model? Like for example, like when you added like
Absolutely.
regular.
Everything comes from the data. It has to be in the model.
Okay, so that particular element has to say that this particular will have a pick list. So
Yep.
okay.
Yep. You have to associate that element to a pick list, and then you have to import that into a pick list. I think we probably missed that part. Yeah, within the data model, you have to mention that.
Okay.
Here you define the layout of the employee files layout. You can define the public profile. You can define the talent profile. You can show or hide certain profiles. You can the person information, contact information, benefits. You can decide to show or hide. So obviously benefits, you don't want to show it to public. So you can take the public profile. You can go click on the actions, edit, and this is how the public profile is going to be for an employee. So when I go back to myself and look at it, this is how the public profile is going to look like. And you can say if you want to show this or not. You want to show this, org chart, who he reports to. You want to show all his tags, if you want to show his badges, merit badges, what awards did he receive. And you can add a photo. You can make it, standard only. You can customize. This is customizing of the public profile of what information people can see and what information the employee himself can see or not. So this is the designing of the employee files layout. How you want to display information in the employee files tabs. Let's say, for example, benefits. I go back, edit the benefits information. Okay, it's not properly designed. Okay, but it's all right. So basically, this is the user profile information, flexible spending accounts. If he has any benefits information, benefit selection that he might have, you can just click add information. So what the employee can see in his self-service when he logs into the system. So that's the employee configure employee files. You can also customize employee central. Basically, we just looked at this one, going into, pick lists, basically risk of loss, impact of loss. So you can come back here and add, edit pick list for any of the values within the employee central, or you can download from the pick list. Either can, both options. Go back to company information. You can change the business rules. Oh no, what am I talking about here? Okay. Define employee fields, employee portlet permissions. What is employee portlet permissions? This is like this, basically the screens employee, can see. For example, this is the address. This is how the address portlet is going to show. Click on edit, and you can change what address, city, zip code would be in your employee portal. And you can save the settings. Go back. Import the foundation data. We already know what that is. You can do mass changes, import, export data, manage sequences. I think pretty much these are all the workflow groups. We just talked about creating the workflow groups, workflow requests, manage jobs, sitting arrangements. So I think we should be familiar with all these. The main thing is this one. This is the biggest thing. Get used to this one and get used to this one. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory, really. Okay. Let's go back here. Here you can create a new data element for your main master objects, location, geographical locations, pay rates, pay groups. Let's say pay grade. I don't know, pay grade, grade 99. Grade 99. Pay grade 99. That is active. And pay grade level is, I don't know, level 99, something like that. And everything is affected. You can effectuate it to future, or today, or past. So very nice feature in the system is it's going to expire. Everything is effectuated within the system. Very great level. Or things are already created, you can go ahead and look at it. Pay grade, this is the pay grades. And these are all, this is just the one we created. And you can look at all the different pay grades. So these are useful once you start creating employee records. So if you have to have, right, assign him the right pay grade, you got to put in the right data over here. Go back to the admin tools, employee files. Okay. So let's add a new employee. So if you have created all the right information, okay, basically the company that comes from our data model, right? So when you're doing a project, you have to create, XYZ company. You have to assign that XYZ company to this particular person. You have to have an event reason. I'm hiring a new person. first name, last name, and eventually, his pay grade and all the information would come in once you move into the job information as well as his compensation information. So go step by step, and this is why we do all the back end work. This is the output of what we're trying to accomplish, is create an employee file. So we can go through it, and we have 30 more minutes. So region of birth is not giving me anything, any drop downs here. Why? Okay, I don't know why it's not giving me anything. It's not required anyway. Hopefully this is there. It's not giving me either. Why is it saying city is Houston is showing red? Doesn't make any sense. Something wrong with our data model, right? Yeah, something wrong with our data model.
Yeah, success in data model needs to be corrected.
Yeah, something wrong with the data model. So if the data model is incorrect, this is what you're going to get, basically.
Data type is wrong.
Have we imported data models already?
Yeah, data models are already imported. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is imported.
So we may need to do some corrections and then import again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, those fields are not mandatory. We can leave them actually.
Okay. Yeah, we can leave, not mandatory, not mandatory, not mandatory. Go next. Now it's asking for person information, not mandatory, not mandatory, not mandatory. Email type is personal. Okay. Phone information is cell phone. Depends on the format, depends on the country. Not mandatory, not mandatory, not mandatory. Home address type. Country is United States. Looks like you're updating country field. Okay, that's fine. Nothing mandatory. But yeah, there is a serious problem with the data model. That's why. Okay. So it's going to frustrate users, right? You're seeing why. So your users are going to be very, very frustrated because there's too much to fill, too much redundancy, too many errors. So not a very good optimized data model. This one. Okay, I'm just trying to go to the next screen so we can see the next. Address city is required. Address city is required. Okay. But it's not giving me 99 77479. State is Texas. Okay, county, United States 104. This bothers me. City, it should have, the drop down should have come. So we need to check. That's not required, not required, not required. Next. City is required, zip code is required, but I did put in zip code. City is required and zip code is required. Where is it talking about? First name, last name, relationship, date of birth, live files, status. Where is it? Asking phone number. Yes, no. If I even delete this thing. Okay, let's see if we can proceed. Okay, now it's asking for job information. Hire date, original start date. Okay, nothing required. Business unit is required. So looks like I know for sure this has been populated already. So ACE marketing division not required. Job classification. No results. That's odd. Okay. So if it is not required, I think we got to go populate this job classification. And then pay grade. So this should come up. This is the one we created, 99. Shifts. Nothing is required. Job relationship type. Additional manager. Admin user. Work permit information. See, this is a perfect example of a propagation rules. You should have propagated country already, because I already have my initial setup done. I don't have to do it multiple times. Your users are going to complain about it. Okay, as done the visa. I think it's going to complain about it for sure. I do next. Job classification. Yep. There is no selection. Okay. Okay, nothing. See, the only way, again, for this is we have to go back to our organization management, and looks like job classification is it's either one of the pick lists within the the job section, and we have to update the pick list and come back here and then enter the information. Otherwise, you can't proceed further down.
Yeah, that's part of the corporate data model. We need to correct that one.
Yeah.
We need to add the pick list there.
Okay, let's go do that. Job classification. Let's go find it and do it, and we can come back. It's a painful. I mean, it's going to be painful. I got to come back and redo the whole thing. Can you try it, Mahesh? I think I sent you the login, right? This one. So I can keep this on.
Login for this one? No, I don't have the access.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to cancel it. Job classification. Let me go here. Leave the page.
Yeah, the next page is the compensation related information. You enter and then you finish it. That's it.
Let me do that over here. Still doesn't come here. Odd. Okay, we need to look into that. I don't know why it doesn't show up, and it is required. Maybe it takes time. It can't be. Okay.
Probably log out and log in. Probably that would.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, just a pick list, just a data piece of data. We'll figure it out. We'll do a dry run next week and stuff. Troubleshooting for you guys. Just make sure you get the concepts right. The reason why we do this, all this, whatever we talked about, data model, country specific data model, section data model, corporate specific data model, workflow rules, is to do this, to create an employee record and then take actions, transfer, demote, give him pay raises, and then that triggers workflow and that triggers rules. The intent is to keep the customers happy. If your data model is incorrect, it's like garbage in, garbage out, they're going to struggle. Mahesh took a class yesterday, a demo class for an insurance company, right, Mahesh? And her complaint was that the consultant screwed up their system, basically. So she's a director of HR, and she hired a consultant, and then they messed up their entire system, and then she's now trying to figure out how to fix it. So good consultants do good job, bad consultants do bad job. So this system, the way it is, it's terrible, obviously. You can see it. So it's going to be a lot of frustration, a lot of pain for your people. It needs to be intuitive, only required fields, only necessary fields, only fields that are required for a company. And then, make sure you use all that right stuff, propagation, associations, the rules, the workflow, all those things that we set up here to, basic 101 IT. Sit with the users, understand the requirement, show them the business process, take all those things, customize it, put it in the system. And because we're working with this company, insurance company, we'll talk more about it, and let's try to implement their system as our project. Okay. Her name is what? Some AC insurance company. I don't know, whatever company, that insurance company. Some ACE insurance company or something. We'll get some more information from them so we can do, the entire. Before that, you need to capture requirements, right? Definition of capture requirements and go through the typical steps and implement and deliver a good solution. Okay, so I will upload this for you guys. Read. Get.
We need to just include BizX implementation methodology there. The steps are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, implementation methodology, capture requirements, define employee, and then what we're going to do is also integration. We didn't teach you integration, so I'm going to show you integration. So we're going to talk about Dell Boomi. We're going to talk about HANA integration suite.
Cloud integration. Yeah.
Integration suite.
And SAP, then add-on 3.0.
Suite. Whatever. Okay, we're going to look at integration. I have the full document, the integration document, right? That I already uploaded. So we're going to look at that. PI, whatever. So we're going to look at how to integrate. So right now, the way we are creating this one, this is not how you're supposed to be creating data, right? All this data should be coming in from someplace else. It's going to come from your core HR legacy system. So that's where the integration comes in. Nobody is going to be sitting in there keying this information. So this data should come from your integrated system and should seamlessly flow in and sit here so people can start doing their goals and compensation and then payroll and all those things.
Like employee import, we can show that. I think there are a lot of different CSV files, templates through which we need to segregate the data and then upload it, or like zip it in a composite folder and then upload it.
Yep, or integration, or look at these integration tools. So we'll look at all those models. You can do, you can do import, export, you can do FTP, you can do any of these integration suites. So this is already 1 o'clock. We'll end the class here. Let me know if you have any questions. These are kind of the key steps of the EC. Make sure you understand this particular slide, and this slide and this slide. You're very familiar with the concepts, and read through this documentation and the integration documentation. A lot of work, but you guys signed up for it, so.
Hari, this is Shaila. Is this document already shared, the EC implementation handbook?
It should be there. If not, I'll put it today. Yep, should be there.
On the Google Drive you're talking about? Okay.
Yep, whatever I have should be there, but if not, I'll double check everything.
Hari, this is Suresh. I didn't find that one there, so that's what I emailed you. So we can double check on that.
Let me see right now. Okay. I thought I did it. Let me check. Okay, it's there now. It's uploading now. Okay. I'm gonna stop the sharing.
Just one more thing. I think